After the break, HS2 derailed with a £6.5 billion downgrade for Euston. Plus, Lawrence Fox arrested at his London home. Tonight, levelling down London. The PM confirms HS2's Euston development will go ahead, but with a £6.5 billion cut.
The £6.5 billion of savings that Mark and I are making will be taken from the Euston site and given to the rest of the country.
I worry we're going to get a second-rate station in Euston rather than a world-leading station that Euston deserves.
Also ahead, Lawrence Fox arrested on suspicion of encouraging criminal damage to ULEZ cameras. This after his London home was searched by police. A vigil for Elanam a week after she was stabbed to death in Croydon. And after so much uncertainty, what a save for Southend United. The club survives after a buyer steps in.
The fans have been fantastic, and for them above anyone else, I just hope that this is the end of the matter now.
Good evening. What does a high-quality new rail terminal look like when its budget has been slashed by billions? In his party conference speech today, the Prime Minister confirmed HS2 will not run from Birmingham to Manchester as planned. It will, however, still go to Euston Station, but with a £6.5 billion cut. And that means fewer platforms, as well as less access to the underground. As for HS2 bosses, the government says it no longer wants them in charge of the Euston project, as our political correspondent Simon Harris explains.
The London to Manchester high-speed railway was finally stopped in its tracks today when the Prime Minister confirmed the worst-kept secret in politics.
I am cancelling the rest of the HS2 project.
The line from London will only go as far as Birmingham. At Euston, where work is on hold for 2 years because of soaring costs, the Prime Minister offered a lifeline, but with strings attached.
The management of HS2 will no longer be responsible for the Euston site. There must be some accountability for the mistakes made, for the mismanagement of this project.
And the revised Euston will be a drastically scaled-back version. The new HS2 station at Euston will now have 6 platforms instead of 10. Plans for a pedestrian tunnel to allow passengers to walk to Euston Square tube station have been scrapped. And crucially, £6.5 billion, which was to have been spent on this site, will now be given to other parts of the country. That set alarm bells ringing at City Hall.
Rishi Sunak announced today a £6 billion cuts from the budget in Euston. He announced today a Euston development, so no details are given, and I worry we're going to get a second-rate station in Euston rather than a world-leading station that Euston deserves.
Robert has lived with the Euston construction site on his doorstep for 6 years and has heard it all before.
What we should remember is last time they tried to save costs was in 2021. They were going to reduce the number of platforms from 11 to 10. What was the outcome? The scheme was going to cost £106 million more.
The delays and disruption have had a devastating impact on local businesses.
2026 was the original timeline. How much delay is it going to be from that? And what sort of aid support package will be provided to the local traders, local residents?
It's not just bad for London, it's bad for the whole country. The United Kingdom is the only developed country in the whole world that does not have a highly developed high-speed rail network.
The government says Euston will open as soon as possible, but it's likely Old Oak Common in West London will still be needed as a temporary terminus. The question no one can answer is for how long?
Well, Simon, that's one of the questions, because there are many unanswered questions here, aren't there?
There are lots, beginning with when will the truncated line to Birmingham open? It's supposed to be sometime between 2029 and 2032. When will work resume on the Euston site, and when will that station be ready? Where's the government going to find this £6.5 billion of money in savings at Euston to give to other parts of the country? It seems that private investors in the Euston regeneration programme might be expected to cough up. And of course, will Labour reverse the decision to axe the line to Manchester if it wins the general election? That's a question I hope to be able to put to Sir Keir Starmer when he speaks to us tomorrow.
right, Simon, thank you. Next tonight, the former GB News presenter Laurence Fox has been arrested for conspiring to vandalise ULEZ cameras. The actor and activist shared footage of Met police officers in his home. Well, the latest, let's go to Charlotte Gay now, who's at New Scotland Yard for us this evening. Charlotte, what more can you tell us about this?
Well, he is a controversial character, first known for his acting, and then he stood for a chance to be London Mayor. But today he was arrested. Before all of this, the incidents of having ULEZ introduced led to lots of people choosing to vandalise the cameras. But it was Mr. Fox's own cameras filming the police inside his home today. They turned up after seeing on social media that he was allegedly encouraging people to take angle grinders to the ULEZ cameras.
The ULEZ scam cameras outside of London are the outer ULEZ zone is a complete scam. There's no scientific evidence. Sadiq Khan rubbished the evidence and had it rewritten to serve his own needs. No one voted it. It's the beginning and bringing in of a surveillance state.
Well, police didn't actually name Laurence Fox, but they did say a 45-year-old from Stockwell was arrested today on suspicion of conspiracy to commit criminal damage to ULEZ cameras and encouraging others to do the same. Now, a little short while after that, GB News decided to drop him as a presenter after already suspending him for his conduct on air. Tonight, though, Mr. Fox remains in police custody.
All right, Charlotte at New Scotland Yard, thank you. Next tonight, rats running amok, broken toilets and a lack of hot food for inmates. Tonight we have an insight into the dire conditions at Wandsworth Prison. In the second part of our exclusive investigation, a whistleblower and serving prison officer tells Kath Opata he's even witnessed some prisoners unable to leave their cell for a whole 24 hours.
It's visiting time at Wandsworth Prison. People go in for an hour to spend time with their relatives, but come out with tales of worry and concern.
And they get banged up for about 24 hours a day also.
24 hours a day?
24 hours a day, don't get no social, nothing really like that, no gym.
Jenny, not her real name, has been visiting an inmate for 11 months. She's asked to remain anonymous out of fear that appearing on camera will subject her relative to bullying.
Also, I asked him about his well-being and he turned around and said to me that he hasn't had no hot food for about 2 months, no hot water.
No hot food and hot water for 2 months?
Yes.
These complaints come after a prison inspection last year found a whole range of problems with conditions at Wandsworth, from broken benches to mouldy walls and cells in disrepair.
It's dirty, it's gritty, you've got rats all over the place. The upkeep isn't really there.
According to our whistleblower, a serving prison guard whose words are being voiced by an actor, things have gone from bad to worse.
I've never seen a cleaning team anywhere.
They're using the inmates as cleaning staff.
Yeah, basically.
And it's not just the cleanliness of living space that has left this guard concerned, but how some of his colleagues are treating prisoners.
So there's a place in the prison called the SEG where if a prisoner misbehaves or is acting out violently, they get taken down to the SEG where they're locked up practically 24/7. They may get 10 minutes out of their cell.
Are there ever cases where they go the full 24 hours without being let out? Have you witnessed any cases like those?
Yeah.
As per the Ministry of Justice's rules, inmates are required to have at least 30 minutes of outdoor exercise and socialising. The failure to adhere to this could be a breach of the inmates' human rights.
There are certain basic conditions which are a requirement of the law, and if you go below that requirement, it can be inhuman and degrading treatment.
The Ministry of Justice say that conditions at Wandsworth have significantly improved, adding that there are now new windows, a repaired roof and a new healthcare unit. But it seems those changes have done little to improve the life of inmates inside. Kath Opata, ITV News.
A safeguarding review will take place into the death of Sarah Sharif, who was found dead in her home in Woking. The independent review, led by the Surrey Safeguarding Children Partnership, will look into the actions of all organisations involved with the family to improve the way they work. And Leyton Orient Football Club has paid tribute to one of their supporters, Derek Reynolds, who died after becoming unwell at a match against Lincoln yesterday evening. He was 74 years old. The club thanked supporters who came onto the pitch to attract medical attention. Well, next tonight, a week on from the death of Elanam, who was fatally stabbed on her way to school, a vigil is taking place in just under an hour by the shopping centre in Croydon, close to where she was killed. Daniel Henry is there for us this evening. And Daniel, what can we expect later?
Well, I think we can expect an outpouring of emotion and an outpouring of grief. I mean, the spot behind me where Elanam was killed has turned into a bit of a shrine, and as you can see behind me, people are gathering already. More than an hour to go until this vigil actually begins. And you know what you might not also be able to spot is that there's also a book of condolence. And in the time that I've been here, I've seen people queuing up to sign that book of condolence and to tell the family how they feel about what happened here last week. Now, I've also caught up with a few people who told me about their reasons for coming here tonight, and this is what they had to say.
We're all thinking about her, everyone in the community, everyone that turned up tonight.
It has to stop, right? Because this young girl had a life ahead of her.
Apart from knowing the family, just to show support, be there for the family, make them know that we care and we're here with them. It won't bring their daughter back, but when they see it, they know that they're not alone, like people are there for them.
Yeah, I mean, very, very emotional reasons there, and you know, that book of condolence I was talking about earlier, I had a chance to have a look at it, and one of the messages that really stuck out to me said, "I don't know you, but I feel your mother's pain. You were gone too soon, forever loved, forever missed."
All right, Daniel, very poignant words indeed. Thank you. Still to come on the programme tonight, a full weather forecast, and it's going to be hot. Plus, the film director legend that is Sir Steve McQueen is waiting in the wings. He's speaking to us live. But first, probably the best result Southend United have had in their 117-year history. Not the 2-0 win they got at home last night, though fans are happy about that too. At the High Court this morning, a petition to wind up the club was thrown out in under a minute. As Carolyn Sim reports, new owners means old debts have been paid up.
The fans finally had something to cheer about, with victory both on and off the pitch. A 2-0 win against Oxford City last night, and a takeover deal confirmed to save the club from collapse. Today there were smiles at Roots Hall as relief was replaced with real hope.
Fantastic. I mean, I've supported Southend for 62 years, but this is the worst I've known it ever since I've been supporting them. And we've got a lot of faith in Kevin, the management team and the players. The new owner, we don't know a lot about him, but he seems to have his heart in the right place. And what with local businessmen, yeah, we should start going places.
Justin Rees is the Australian investor who's leading the consortium buying the club. The town's MP awaits details of the deal.
I think they can be reasonably confident, but clearly there's a process of due diligence. But the timetable is we want to see this deal formalised by the 1st of November. So we haven't got long to wait, but we should definitely be celebrating today.
It had been an agonising 6 years at Southend, with owner Ron Martin seeing the club relegated from the English Football League for the first time in 101 years in 2021. Fans, determined to keep the club alive, set up the Shrimpers Trust to fight the club's decline and lobby for new owners. This morning, it took less than a minute for a final court hearing, which could have seen the club wound up, to be dismissed, with all tax debts owed to HMRC now paid.
Last time we were here, I thought that was it when we sat there that day and all these different companies stood up and said that they were owed this amount and that amount. I just didn't see any way of us escaping from that. It's been very, very difficult to deal with, and the fans have been fantastic, and for them above anyone else, I just hope that this is the end of the matter now and that this club can go on and fulfil its potential.
The future for Southend United isn't quite over the line, but fans are looking forward to focusing once more on football and hope that finances will soon be in safe hands. Carolyn Sim, ITV News.
Now, the Beckhams have spoken of the impact media scrutiny had on their family when David was accused of having an affair 20 years ago. In a new Netflix documentary, Beckham, Victoria and David open up about the strain their marriage was put under by rumours the Leytonstone-born footballer had begun an affair while playing for Real Madrid.
100%. It was the hardest period for us because it felt like the world was against us. And here's the thing, we were against each other.
I don't know how we got through it, in all honesty. We're fighters. And at that time, we needed to fight for each other. We needed to fight for our family.
Staying with the football theme, she's been a champion of the women's game, both on and off the pitch. But today, Lionesses captain Leah Williamson can add another accolade to her name. The Arsenal defender, who's currently recovering from a serious injury, was awarded an OBE for services to Association Football at a ceremony at Windsor Castle. Now, my guest tonight has never been one to shy away from the hard but important topics. Sir Steve McQueen, the Ealing-born director, is the force behind award-winning films, including 12 Years a Slave and Hunger. Now, his latest documentary tackles the Nazi occupation of Amsterdam and its lasting impacts. And I'm very pleased to say that Sir Steve joins us here this evening. Thank you so much for coming in. Last time we met, you weren't, Sir Steve. We'll get to that. We will get to that. Let's just talk about this new documentary now. It's screening at the London Film Festival, of course, which is happening now. It's called Occupied City, and this is quite a personal project for you, wasn't it?
Well, personal because I've been living in Amsterdam for about 27 years, and my wife is Dutch.
Yeah.
And it's one of those sort of things as an artist, as a filmmaker, often, you know, you're going to these far-flung countries to make a project, but this one happened to be on my doorstep. And what happened is, at a certain point, I realized I was living with ghosts because this formerly occupied country was sort of sitting on my doorstep, meaning that things which sort of I assumed were innocent had a certain sort of history.
And so much history was happening there at that time, of course. But it's actually inspired another project that you're working on about London at that time, Blitz. Am I right?
Yes. Well, a lot of things have sort of amalgamated. It's, you know, often things sort of go back and forth from themselves. But yes, I'm making a movie about the Blitz during 1940. Right now.
But you're not going to tell us anymore. When's it
I
coming
can't, but I'm looking forward to come back to tell you more.
Oh, there you go. You said it. You said it on live telly, so Steve, you're coming back. Listen, we mentioned there that you're not afraid of the hard topics. You made a documentary about the tragedy at Grenfell. We followed that story from day one, from the day of the fire, the day of the tragedy, followed it the last 6 years. It had a huge impact, not only in the people in the community, but on this entire city. And you know, you've been involved in the silent marches, haven't you, with the community at Grenfell? What impact did it have on you as a Londoner?
Well, I was born less than a mile from Grenfell. You know, Labrador was an area which it was one of my sort of it's the stomping patches, really. It's just devastating, the fact that people who didn't have to die died. The people who didn't have to be affected by this were affected. And, you know, the powers that be have to be held to account. That's just how it is. I mean, you know, this didn't have to happen. You know, for me, this was negligence in its highest form.
We're waiting, pending the results of that public inquiry, aren't we still? I want to talk to you about another very, very popular show series that you made, which was Small Acts, of course. And that was looking at a particular time, section of the community in London as well. It is, you focus on those events, the historical events, but with a kind of, I suppose, reflecting on the present as well.
Well, it is, yes. I think everything I've done which is about the past is about the present. And I think with Small Acts, again, it's reflecting on a time when, you know, for me, as a young person, it was, I remember sort of living in that environment and of the community. And in fact, all I can say is how the community has been affected now with with various sort of situations as far as knife crime and so forth, and how still with police harassment and so forth and whatnot, these things have not still been resolved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is so much I could talk to you about if we had much longer, but you are coming back, you've promised now. So when Blitz is out, you're going to come back.
Yes, and hopefully people get to see Occupy City when it comes out in February.
Thank you so much. Sir Steve McQueen,
Pleasure.
thank you very much. All right now, could it be as hot as Ibiza in the capital this weekend? Here's Sally with the weather.
ITV London weekday weather is sponsored by Octopus Electric Vehicles. Car, charger and energy.
Hello there, I hope you had a lovely day. Look at this little prophet. The other day he was doing yoga and now aerobics. I think it's the same squirrel, I mean, it's got to be, hasn't it? Quite cloudy though, our weather tomorrow, mostly dry. And if you haven't heard already, it is turning sunny and warm as we head on into the weekend. Let me just show you, these are the top temperatures we could get through the next few days, peaking possibly at 26 degrees, maybe on Sunday. That brings us maybe up to 9 or 10 degrees above average for the time of year. And it looks like it'll stay warm into the start of next week as well. Still a little bit of a movable feast, so we'll obviously keep you posted. As for the rest of tonight, quite a quiet one on the old weather front, staying pretty dry. There'll be a few clear spells overnight, so those temperatures will drop away again. Maybe not quite as far as last night, but in the countryside we can still get down into single figures. So it's just feeling that little bit fresh in the morning. Sunrise is at 7:07, and tomorrow, not a dissimilar day, probably a little bit more cloud though, and the wind's a little bit lighter. Looks like it'll stay dry. Temperature similar to today, highs of 17 to 19 degrees. If you've got plans in the evening, it should stay dry for that. Just later on, the further north you live, you could just catch a few bits and pieces of rain as they come through later on. Now Friday, we'll start to see increasing amounts of sunshine, that cloud tending to thin a bit and letting a bit more sun through, and more so into Saturday and Sunday, although we could have some quite cloudy or even foggy starts on Sunday, but the days will improve. That sunshine should then take over, and you can see those temperatures climbing up as well. That's it for now. I'll see you later on. Have a great evening. Cheerio.
ITV London weekday weather is sponsored by Octopus Electric Vehicles.
Before we go, the national treasure immortalised once more by Madame Tussauds, Sir David Attenborough is to star in a brand new exhibition showcasing icons that have shaped British culture. The 97-year-old's waxwork is seen here, surrounded by wildlife at the Barbican Conservatory. And that's it from us. The ITV News is at 6:30 with Mary, but from us on the London team, bye-bye.